Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We're coming to you on this Wednesday, March 27th, and we are live from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios and on Walk by Faith Radio, 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation and 98.7 Walk by Faith. So I hope you guys have had an awesome day. We've had a busy day right here at the Rock, just finished. I mean, we just absolutely just finished, walked in here, got on the radio, so it's going to be fun tonight. We're going to it's part of life, right? We're just trying to live life best we can, get all this stuff put together, bring you guys a show, and so I'm excited to talk. I heard someone say, one of my guys asked me yesterday if I just liked hearing myself talk, and then one of my girls today, she said, man, you're busy today. And I said, yeah, I'm sorry, man. I said, maybe sometimes I just talk too much. And she was like, well, you do talk a lot. And I said, yeah. And then at the end of the day, I go on a radio show and I talk for another hour. And so maybe the guy was right that I like to hear myself talk. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm trying to just talk to you about health. That's all we're doing, right? And who else is going to talk to you about health, right? So some of the things that we talk about, I know you're not getting anywhere else. And so maybe the stuff that we talk about is something that makes your life better. And if it is, then sometimes we'll bring it to you, even when we're not all put together and organized. Because, when is life that way, really, right? I mean, there's a few of y'all, about 6 of you, I think, that actually have everything put together all the time, and you got it all. And man, I'm very envious of you, all of y'all that are out there that are just so organized and have everything put together. I'm envious of you, but I think the rest of us are just working our way through life, trying to do the best we can, and there's just some things that we don't quite. There's some things that, and some days where we're just a little bit busy. We've got a lot of things going on. So we've been at it since 7:30 this morning. We've been working on things. It's a great day. We did our training. We got some exciting news coming to the Rock. We have a QEEG machine. Now, I may have mentioned it, but we're going to start doing some brain mapping and some neurofeedback in our office. And you guys may not know what that is, but a QEEG is kind of like a QEEG. It's a quantitative EEG is what it's called, and it's kind of like an EKG on your heart, where they put the electrodes on your chest and then they measure the electronic activity of your heart so they can see if your heart's functioning properly. Well, a QEEG is doing the same thing with your brain, and it was so amazing. Like today, like we've been testing for 3 days. Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we had a 2-hour test, and that's part of what ate up my day today. And but we've been testing, and so we tested me on Monday, and then we treated me today to see how it all worked and go through the software and all that sort of thing. So you got to put a cap. You got to put a skull cap on your head, and it's got 19 different leads on it. And so it's taking all this electrical information from your brain, and it's got all these algorithms and all this stuff. It's called S-Loretta, some of the things that it's treated, and you can look that up, and you can look it up on Google if you want to, and you can kind of see exactly what kind of pictures we get. But it's super cool because one of the things it shows us is that how your brain is working by moving. So when she set me up today, she set me up in the trainer. The trainer is someone that from the software company that we had to go live. We had a Zoom call with her. She took over everything. My computer, and then she's showing us how it all worked. And so when we put that cap on me and we started calibrating it, getting it ready to run its test, we could see those 19 leads going across the screen and how they functioned. And it was so cool to see it because she said, okay, now go ahead. And she said, like cough or clear your throat or something like that. And when I did that, you could see the little lines move. And then she said, okay, now turn your head right and left. And the little lines moved. And so one of the things she said, blink. And when you blink, the lines move. And then one of the things I did, I said, okay, I'm going to test it. I'm going to take my eyes up and left. And when I did, like taking my eyes up and left right there, and you could see on the screen the activity of how the brain waves were moving by taking our eyes up and left. And one of the things I told my staff is that it's the hardest thing to explain to people how chiropractic works because you can't see it. You if you're hurting, then you're better. Then you're like, hey, that was great. But on a daily basis, what we're doing when we're like, yes, last night we were talking about all that conversion, where you bring your eyes together and look at something. All those little things like that. It's so hard to see. Your orthodontist has done such an awesome job because you can see your orthodontist. Like you put your braces on and you can see your teeth move, right? You can see your jaw. Like my underbite went away. Now I have a bite that's normal. I've had an underbite my whole life until I had braces. And then after I got my braces, my underbite went away. So we were able to, it's so, nobody has any problem with just going in and paying for their braces, right? Because they can see their results. We'll do that for our kids and we'll see them. But it's so hard in chiropractic because you can't see what happens in your brain when I move your eyes up and to the left. You can't see what happens to your brain when we get your eyes to converge properly. And now we've got some technology that actually allows us to do that a little bit. It'll map us out. It'll kind of tell us, hey, how is your brain firing? What is your brain doing? And it really, it's kind of built for a lot of people that have things like post-traumatic stress or anxiety and depression or issues that, some of the things that it gave us was like sleeping patterns, insomnia. That was one of them. Memory was one of them. Is your memory not working right? And so if your memory is not working right, which part of your brain is that? Now we know from the master and his emissary that memory is a right hemisphere issue first, right? And there was when I was taking my functional neurology classes with Dr. Michael Hall, one of the things that he pointed out to us was that it was he said memory comes from is a deficiency in function in the right hemisphere of the brain first. And one of the guys in the audience said, no, it's left brain. And Michael Hall said, well, let me assure you, I know the research and I know the brain parts and I know the brain patterns and I can break it down for you. It's a deficiency in the right hemisphere first. Well, that's the same thing that Dr. McGilchrist said in the Master and His Emissary book. He's talking about, hey, it's that deficiency of that right brain to left brain first. And so memory was one of the things that we can test the brain and see how it's going. And then we can treat the brain with the neurofeedback along with what we're going to do in the office with chiropractic and with the brain exercises and the brain rehab and the stuff that we do. So I'm really fired up about it. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be very beneficial in our office for lots and lots of people. Everybody with the brain is a candidate. And it doesn't just take people that have anxiety or depression, post-traumatic stress, but it also helps people that are functioning well to function better. Like, can you raise your level like elite athletes? One of the guys that is very known for this, that just happened recently, was the quarterback at the University of Michigan when they played Washington and when they played whoever it was, Texas or Alabama, I guess Alabama, that they played them. That guy got a lot of publicity because before the game he would sit down, take his shoes off, ground himself, sit down by the goalpost, put his headphones on, and go through meditation. And he got some attention for that. And it was like what he was trying to do was he was trying to regulate his brain activity to kind of get him to stay in a calm state so that he could perform at his highest level. And that's really cool too. So that's also what this technology can do for us, is give us that opportunity. So I am super fired up about it. I can't talk much more about it because I haven't really gotten all the training and all the things that that we can use it for, or how to use the technology. I think it's going to fit in well with what we already do here. And so I hope you guys will take advantage of that at some point, because I think it's going to be super great for lots of people. All right, so the supplement of the day, I got a couple of these right here, but the one I wanted to talk about tonight was it's called Paraplex. And it says supports carbohydrate digestion. And in the book, the Paraplex contains a proprietary protomorphogen blend that includes bovine pancreas, adrenal, pituitary, and thyroid PMG extracts. Contains a unique profile of nucleotides, peptides, in bovine pancreas, adrenal, pituitary, and thyroid. And so we use it a lot to help support the sympathetic nervous system. And in the older book that I have, the commentary is endocrine support similar to Simplex F and M without gonadal PMGs. We add pancreatropin PMG instead of ovary and orchic PMG, so this product becomes important for endocrine support involving sugar handling problems and parasympathetic autonomic nervous system dominance. So someone that's got some parasympathetic nervous system problems, and we could use Paraplex as something there. And also, if we're going to try to help you in your sugar handling, which also it also helps you with your endocrine system, meaning your hormone system. And those are the areas that it's got in it that are helpful: the pituitary, the thyroid, the pancreas, and the adrenal glands. And those areas right there, it's got it in there to be able to help us give support to those parts of our body so that we can function better. So just wanted to go over that with you, wanted to talk about that. And Paraplex, that's something. Remember, if you're interested, Standard Process, therock.standardprocess.com. You can get it from us there, or you can get it from us at the office, right? And I want to be straight up with you, because I lead this show off with these type of with this information about Standard Process, and I just want you to know, like, my practice is not supplement based, right? So I'm not making a living off of supplements. We have supplements in the office. We provide those supplements to you, but I'm not a nutrition store and I'm not making a living off supplements. I just want you to know about it, and I want you to have it. And I don't think a lot of you know that there's things out there that can support those different areas of your body. I think last night, the Colacol, right? How many of you knew that when you take your gallbladder out, you're going to be deficient in bile, and you're not going to digest your fats as well, right? That's the point of sharing this information with you. That's why we would use the Colacol last night. What if your parasympathetic system is not functioning the way that it's supposed to? What if your thyroid gland, your adrenal glands need a little bit of help? And maybe you've got some thyroid dysfunction that somebody's calling an autoimmune disease, right? Well, these are the type of things that we get you on. So that, are we treating autoimmune diseases? Absolutely not. I'm not treating them. I'm treating subluxations. And if your thyroid gland's not functioning, it's going to cause you not to function properly. And so we're trying to eliminate that. So that's what we got going on. That's the supplements that we got going on. And so the next thing I wanted to talk about was something that I can't remember. I didn't have time today to go back and see back in September if we had actually broken this down. And so I wanted to talk about it tonight. And it's called the 5P triangle. And I think maybe there's an old show that we've done that went over the 5P triangle, but I know that we have a lot of new listeners that have started listening to the show that may not have gone back, or if you guys are listening to it on the radio, maybe you haven't gone back and listen to all the shows that we have. But every time I go over it, it reminds me, and it makes me appreciate better exactly why I'm doing stuff, and it helps me remember things. And so I just happened to talk about it this morning with one of my patients, and he's an old football coach, and it's always cool to talk to him. And we were talking. I don't know. I made the comment about if I ever was to coach again, one thing that I would do is I would appreciate the wins, because I think he said he's had a pretty good day the last couple of days. And I was like, we should just enjoy that. And I think what I said to him is like, when you lose, you work way harder than when you win. Like, that's what he said to me. He's like, yeah, when you lose, you work way harder than you win. And I was like, yeah, because you just don't appreciate those wins nearly like you are depressed about the losses. And I think that's a human nature thing. We talked about that. So it just reminded me of the 5P triangle. And at one point in my life, I actually had this as part of my logo, because I feel so strongly about it. And so I wanted to go over it again tonight. If I've gone over it in the past, you're just going to have to forgive me, because I just wanted to go over it again tonight, because I do think there's some learning in there that we could put together, and it'll take us a little bit off of some of the migraine stuff that we talked about for the last two nights. By the way, if you hadn't seen those shows, they're on. Monday night and Tuesday night show is all about migraines. And so if you have migraines, suffer from migraines, know somebody that suffers from migraines, there's some good information in those last two shows, and you might want to try them out. So what is the 5P triangle? Well, the 5P triangle it comes from philosophy. The guy that taught me this 5P triangle, his name is Patrick Gentempo. He's a chiropractor out of New Jersey, very popular in the chiropractic world. And then he's a good friend of a friend of mine here in town named Tracy Wilson, who's a chiropractor, has Global Health Chiropractic. And Tracy used to teach this at clinic camp with Parker college students. And then Tracy got me to kind of take over his clinic camp duties after I graduated from school, so he could free him up to do a few other things, because he's a super busy guy. And so I would teach this as well. And so it's I don't know all the backgrounds of it. I don't know if it has a name other than the 5P triangle. I don't know if you guys have heard of it before in some other realm. If you have, you just have to forgive me, because I don't know exactly the historical significance of this, or where it started, or any of that stuff, right? But it starts with, if we were to draw we're going to draw a triangle, but it starts with purpose. And if you just draw purpose on a page, and that to me is our why, right? That's why we're here. It's our purpose. And some of us know our purpose. Some of us don't know our purpose. Some of us don't care to know. But why are we doing what we're doing, right? We talk about that. I know you guys get tired of me talking about your why, but I do think it's very important that we understand it. What difference does it make of the things that we do in the world? And then when you take purpose, and then on top of purpose, you put philosophy. And your philosophy is basically what you believe about your purpose, what you believe about life. What's your philosophy on politics? What's your philosophy on religion? What's your philosophy on football? Whatever, right? Whatever your thing might be. What is your philosophy on healthcare? Maybe you're all about injections. Maybe you're all about vaccines. Maybe you're all about surgeries. Maybe you're not about any of those things, right? What do you believe about it? And in every realm of everything, you have a philosophy about something. Whether you realize it or you don't realize it, you do have a belief system. What's your philosophy on onions? Or what's your philosophy on how do you feel about zucchini or broccoli or whatever, right? So those two things are kind of the foundation of it. And what we would kind of consider this to be is the cause. And then you move up from philosophy and you get into psychology. And I think I spelled that right. Psychology. So psychology is, what are you thinking? And because and the next thing on the list above psychology is procedures. What are you doing? And then the top one is your prosperity. How successful are you with what you got going on, right? So if you were to just make a triangle out of this, and I may have drawn it too high on my board here, but to make a good triangle out of it, and if we were to make a triangle out of that right there, it's not a very good triangle. It looks more like a bell, but it's supposed to be a triangle, but I ran out of room at the top of my page. If you make a triangle out of that, and then you break that down, and you kind of look at it from a triangle standpoint, yeah, that's called the 5P triangle. And it probably, if something has held true for me over the last 20 years in business and chiropractic, actually 20, however long it's been, 21 years of or longer in 22, I can't remember when we got our first office, 22 years ago. In that period of time, I think this triangle right here has probably held more true than anything else that I've done over my whole business career. I think from a business standpoint, every decision that I've made, every mistake that I've made over the last 20 years, I can attribute to this whole thing, whether it was proper or not. And the reason I say that is it's like, so the cause is the lower. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing here with this. There we go. I got it all messed up. So the lower things are the cause. So the question is, what are you thinking? Is your thinking being driven by your purpose? When you decide you're going to do something, like I'm thirsty. If I'm thirsty, then what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to go get something to drink, right? If I'm hungry, then I'm going to go get something to eat. And my procedures are going to be following whatever I'm thinking. So I need to break that down and understand that my thinking is being driven by something, and my thinking is either being driven by my purpose and my philosophy, and we'll just make a line across there, and we'll say that, okay, this is the cause, or my thinking is being driven by something else, and a lot of times it's being driven by my prosperity. So is my prosperity driving my thinking, or is my purpose driving my thinking? Because it's going to change the way that I function. Because what we were having this conversation about this morning is the coach and I were talking, and we were saying when we lost, we worked way harder than when we won. Because when we lost, he said we turned over every rock. We wanted to make sure that there was no stone left unturned. We wanted to break down every single thing that we could possibly break down, because we hate losing and we don't want to lose. And so we work super, super hard when we lose. And what he was basically trying to say is exactly what happens to us when we have our triangle turned upside down. And that's the part that I think is so valuable about this teaching, is that if you turn your triangle upside down and now it's on the point, so if you have it on the philosophy and purpose side, then the wide part of the triangle, and sorry about that for you guys on the radio, I didn't explain that, but the wide part of the triangle is on the table, and then it comes up to a point at the top where your prosperity is. But when you turn your triangle upside down, now the triangle is sitting on its point. And what happens is it teeters. Because when a triangle's turned upside down and it's stuck on its point, now it has a tendency of wanting to fall in one direction or the other. It moves itself from one direction or the other. And so now we get into this thing of excess on one side and lack on the other. And our psychology starts to change because of the illusion of excess and lack. And that really is an illusion, because there's really not there's not a lack if you really had a big enough picture of things. So we're going to take a break here for just a minute. We're coming up on a break. We're going to take a break. We'll be back, and then we'll go over the rest of this triangle when we come back right after the break. So I hope you guys will stick around with us. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, right here on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio and 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation, and we'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to wait and for the social media people. I'm going to wait on this just to let the radio come back on, because I really do want the radio people to understand about that. So, if you have any questions, you're welcome to send them to us. If you have any text, you're welcome to text me. I haven't had a chance to look at the text today and see if anybody has asked anything of me so far, but yeah. But you can always reach out to me if you want to on social media. If you got anything that you would like for us to talk about on the show, I'd be glad to talk about it. You can send it to me. Get that off of there for a second, and I'll try to answer all of your stuff. I know a lot of you guys come back and watch it later. Sorry. I know a lot of you guys will come back and watch the show later on, and so you're not catching it when it's live, and there's a lot of things going on out there in the world, and I know that sometimes you want to come back and check it out later on. So if you do and you have questions about it, then feel free to send it to us. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about turmeric tomorrow, in case you guys are not familiar with turmeric. This Paraplex is something we get a lot of this information off of the symptom survey that we do when people do their nutritional evaluation. We get and we can also do the heart rate variability. And when we do that, those two things combined give us a lot of information about whether or not your sympathetic or your parasympathetic nervous systems are working the way that they're supposed to work. And a lot of people don't really understand it too much. Those two systems are confusing for a lot of folks, because they don't quite get it about exactly how it works or what's happening right there. But there is support. There is support both directions. We talked about Simplex F and for the sympathetic nervous system earlier in the week, or maybe last week. So. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we're talking about the 5P triangle. And just imagine you have a triangle. You guys on the radio that are listening to us, just imagine you have a triangle, and the base of the triangle is the wide part, and then it comes up to a point. So what do they call it? An isosceles triangle has all when all of the angles are equal, right? So I think that's what it's called. Maybe not. It's been a long time since geometry, and y'all know my story about geometry. That's where I didn't do well, and then I did really well all in the same semester, because that's the semester I fell in love with Leslie. And so I don't really care about what I made in geometry, because she's still with me. So, yeah. But you got this triangle, you got the base. Now flip that thing over, and it's on its point. And when your triangle's on its point, what you're doing is you're letting your prosperity dictate your effort. You're letting your prosperity dictate your thinking. And so if things are going really well for you, then you might not do the things that it takes to keep you where you're supposed to be. You see it in athletics all the time. You see it in sports. It's super hard to get to the top of the heap and stay on the top of the heap. It's really hard to do that. It's hard to do that in business too. You have a restaurant that gets up to the top and then it's really hard. They can't stand it because why? Because the owners get so much money they don't know what to do with it. They're like, hey, man, we're not going to work today. We're going to go on vacation. We're not going to work today. We're going to go do something instead. We're going to, we got to spend our money sometime, right? And so if you have this excess, it changes the way that you think, which then changes what you do. And so you're not thinking about things. But then all of a sudden, that triangle, it teeters over to the other side. And when it teeters over to the other side, now all of a sudden you have this illusion of lack. Like all of a sudden there's not enough money. There's just not enough money. What are we going to do? Because we just don't have enough money. We don't have enough. And what we're really telling ourselves is we don't have enough value because there's not a lack of money. Didn't we just sign, didn't they just pass a new bill for $1 trillion package or something? Right? Where's the $1 trillion come from? I mean, I don't even know what that means. That's surely not $1 trillion, but I don't know. Maybe it is, but it's a lot of money, right? And where'd it come from? They just printed it. They just printed the money. So when we have a lack of something, what we're actually doing is we're falling for that illusion. And then what is that going to do? It's going to make us work harder. It's going to make us turn all those stones over. It's going to make us stay up later and get up earlier. It's going to make us drive harder and drive harder and drive harder. Or it's going to get us into some sort of thing that we shouldn't have got into in the first place. It's going to get us to buy a new piece of equipment that we think we need. It's going to get us to go to some seminar that we think we need to go to. It's going to get us to man, I just got to have this next thing. I got to have this next thing, right? And so when we have this sense of lack, our brain doesn't work like it's supposed to. Our brain gets confused about this, the possibilities of what this new thing could do, and a lot of times we don't see the negative side. And that's the part that I can attest to that's held up for the last 20 years of me having my chiropractic license. I'm in my 20th year. So for these last 20 years of being in chiropractic, I can attest to it that it's one of the things that, without a doubt, it's one of the things that if I go back and look at every mistake that I made, I can almost assure you that the mistakes that I made came from me being in a state of lack. Why did I add massage therapy to my building in back in 2009 or 2010 whenever I moved from one place to the next, right? Well, I could tell you why I did that. My initial thing of adding massage therapy into my practice was because I had leased almost 6,000 square foot of space and I needed something to fill up that space. And so I needed to get something in my office that would help me with that, because I had this illusion that I couldn't pay for the building and I had this feeling of lack. Now you got to get more services in there. So you got to get a massage therapy. It wasn't my purpose. It wasn't my philosophy. And it's not that it went against either one of those things, because I'm a fan of massage therapy. I have a massage therapist now. I get massage. We've had massage therapy in our building for 13 years. We don't any longer, because really it was an uphill battle the whole entire time. We had some good massage therapists and some super awesome massage therapists, but one thing about massage therapy is most of them that we had in our office were girls, and most of them were young, and most of them ended up getting married. I don't know how many. They either had babies or they got married, and good for them. That's awesome for them. But now you're replacing them with another one, and then you're replacing them with another one. And pretty soon, you're spending way more time doing all this stuff that doesn't have anything to do with your purpose. And then you get a little bit, all of a sudden things change, or you fill up your practice gets better, you make more money, and then your triangle tilts back over to excess, And then you try to wonder, what in the heck did I do? Why did I get myself in this position in the first place? What was I thinking when I decided to do that? It's kind of like throwing interceptions, because I don't know if you guys have ever thrown an interception before. A lot of you, I'll venture that you have not ever thrown an interception. But let me tell you, when you throw an interception, you never, that I know of, I don't know that any quarterback, maybe in some rare cases, no quarterback ever throws an interception on purpose. They did not, when they dropped back and they hit that back step and they got ready to throw, they did not intentionally throw the ball to the other team. So they had a thought process when they let the ball go. They either didn't see the guy, which gets into your blind spots, which you actually do have blind spots, and what you focus on is what you see. So if you're focused on something really, really tightly, then you didn't see that thing come in from the outside. And so, but you release the ball, and then all of a sudden you see the whole picture, and that's when you get rage. You get that rage that comes over you, and that's why I understand rage, because as soon as I let the ball go, then the guy runs in front of it, and it's like, I didn't see that guy, and he ends up intercepting the pass, and now you got to go tackle him, but you don't care because you're full of rage, and you go, it doesn't matter who it is. King Kong could have intercepted that pass, and you're going to go tackle him, so it wouldn't make any difference. The same thing happens when we're in that state of lack. We're in that state of lack, and we don't let our purpose drive our thinking. How many of us have done it with supplements? How many of us have done it with gym memberships? How many of us have done it with exercise equipment? Right? How many of you have had a treadmill, an exercise bike, a stair stepper? What do they call those things? With the bands, the Bowflex. Bowflex is what I was trying to remember. How many of you have had any of those pieces of equipment, a Bowflex, that you just couldn't live without? Like it was the thing. Like it was going to be the thing. Like, man, I'm not fit. I got to get fit. And how am I going to get fit? Well, I'm going to get fit because I'm going to just buy this piece of equipment. I'm going to go get this thing. I know if I get me a Bowflex, that's going to be the key to me getting fit, right? I think I can turn my life around if I'll just buy me this new treadmill. I think that's what I need. I think I can just turn my life around with this new treadmill, right? Don't tell me I'm the only one that's ever done that. I don't think I am. I think you guys, some of you guys might be in the same boat, right? Man, what is this next? What is this next thing that I should buy? Should I take the Ozempic shot? That's what I think I should do. How about green tea extract? Some deal, right? Like, that's the thing. That's the thing that's going to help me get skinny. I think my mom took that one time. Mom, if you're listening to the show, don't get mad at me. But school teachers are notorious for doing stuff like that, right? Those, from a fitness standpoint, we've all done that, right? And then what happens? We invest in the Bowflex, we invest in it, and then we get it at the house, we get it all set up, and then it becomes a place that we hang our clothes on, right? We don't ever use it. It ends up in the garage somewhere, and then it gets dust all over it, and then we don't ever use it, and it wasn't the thing that we needed, but our thinking was so skewed when we decide to use it or buy it, because we were in this illusion of it's the answer, and it's not really driven by our purpose, right? It's really hard to mess up life when you're driven by your purpose, because it keeps you going, right? Even on these days where I'm busy all day long, but then it's like, hey, are you going to do a radio show tonight? Yes, I'm going to do a radio show. Am I going to do it on social media at the same time? Yes. Why? Because it's my purpose. Because that's what is driving this whole thing. Why did I get a new QEEG machine? For myself? Because I wanted to make more money? Because I thought I could make more money with it? No, because I got patients whose brains aren't working properly. And I know that no one else is going to help them get their brain to work better. Some of them have been to Covenant, UMC, Baylor Medical, Scott and White. Some of them have run the gamut of all the places, and nobody's helped them. It's still, they're not getting any relief. It's not helping. Or some of them can't get any help. Or the only help that they've ever been given is some sort of pharmaceutical for their depression or their anxiety that doesn't have anything to do with their depression or their anxiety anyway. Right? Why did I buy a treadmill? I bought a treadmill because I believe that walking is massively important. And that, by the way, that is something that, I forgot to turn this back on. That's something that I watched last night. One of my patients told me about it. I hadn't seen it before, but Living to 100, something about the blue zones, right? So the blue zone thing that's a cool show. They started off with the people in Okinawa, and they talked about what those people do. You know, one of the first things that they talked about was purple potatoes. And we just got through talking about purple potatoes on our Shop with the Doc that we did on Saturday with a couple. And we talked about, look, the purple potatoes are way better for us than the white potatoes are. And a lot of us have never even heard of a purple potato before. A lot of us have never even been told that thing existed. Some of us think that a purple potato is a red potato is just because it's got a red skin on the outside of it. And that is absolutely not what I'm talking about. Because when you cut that one in half, then what you get is it's white on the inside, right? Those white potatoes tend to raise our blood sugar more. The point of it is that those people in Okinawa, that's one of the things that they eat is purple potatoes. They also don't have very tall chairs or couches or anything in their house. Pretty much everything is on the floor. So when they sit down, they have to sit all the way down to the floor. And then when they get up, they have to get up off the floor. And in the CrossFit world, we call that a burpee. When you have to lay down on the floor and get up off the floor, right? It's a really big deal to be able to do that. You got to be able to get up and get down. You got to be able to walk. Those people walk. And they do. I watched the little lady doing some, and I don't know how to do this, but she was like doing some Tai Chi and some things with her. And we probably need to get Cindy Dunn. Cindy Dunn is Dr. Dunn, Michael Dunn's wife, and he's an optometrist here in town. And Cindy, they're super great people. And Cindy is a Tai Chi teacher, and they actually do that there. If you guys are interested in that, she does that in her office. But I was watching that lady do that. However she was doing that thing, and what she was doing is she was moving her hands. Right? She was moving her hands back and forth. And they do that every single day. Well, how do you move your hand? You move your hand by firing your brain. Your brain fires your hand. And so what are you doing by taking your hand through this motion back and forth? You're firing your brain. Every single day, you go through this rhythm of moving your joints and you're firing your brain. So you're walking, you're eating good food, you're firing your brain, and for some reason, those people live, and you know what else they do? They eat a lot of seaweed right out of the ocean. And you know what seaweed has it's high in? Omega-3 fatty acids, right? Yeah, you knew I was going to pull it back around to fish oil, right? Yes. So my point of all that is that I bought this treadmill because I understand how important walking is. And if you lose your ability to walk, then you decrease the way that your brain functions. And the people who've used our treadmill and gone in there and gotten on a program where they walk are doing fabulous. Like the reports that we're getting back are just fabulous about how their lives are so much better. And some people will walk for a bit and then they drop out, right? That's common. Why is it common? Because they made the decision with their triangle turned upside down. They thought they were in a state of lack, and so they decided they were going to do something, and then when they started doing it, it wasn't really what they wanted to do in the first place. And so they ended up quitting because they weren't being driven by their purpose. It wasn't their purpose, or they quit because they all of a sudden thought to themselves, in the beginning, they didn't mind paying the $150 that we charge for walking on the treadmill twice a week. They didn't mind paying that. You can walk on the treadmill, you can go into the gym, you can do some fitness stuff. That's what we charge as part of our Rock Fitness program, right? Well, in the beginning, they didn't mind paying it, but then all of a sudden, they teetered back over to this. All of a sudden, that $150 became cheap. Too expensive. They didn't have the value for it any longer, and it went over to the other side. And then they're like, you know what? I don't want to walk anymore. I don't think it's helping me. I don't think it's doing any good. Whatever. Walking's not doing any good. That's what you're trying to convince me of. That when you walk, you're not doing better. So here's what I say to them: just go not walk for a while. Tell me how that works out for you, and I can promise you, it's going to be worse. Because you're not going to go walk, you're going to stay at home, and you're not going to move, and then you're going to start to sit, and the more you sit, the more your brain turns off, and then here we go, right? There's that teetering of excess and lack. Now, turn the triangle back over. Turn the triangle and put the base at the bottom. And now, let your purpose and your philosophy drive your thinking. How are you going to coach today? And what the coach and I talked about this morning was those coaches who are super successful. And I mentioned Tom Osborne. Tom Osborne was coach at Nebraska for 25 years, and he won 252 games, I think, or 253 games, something like that. He averaged 10 wins a season for 25 years. He was at the pinnacle of coaching for 25 years, and he won that average. It's hard to do, right? Those guys are driven by their purpose. They work the same, they work hard, and they work smart, and they work the same regardless of whether they're winning or losing. They don't change the way they're working. You see people like Bill Belichick and Nick Saban and those guys that were able to create dynasties in athletics that were able to carry that on for a long period of time, and then they were able to push that all the way through by letting their purpose drive their thinking. Why do you eat vegetables? Why do you eat grass-fed meat? Why does it matter if you take your fish oil? What difference does it make if you get any exercise? What is driving that? Is your weight driving it? How much you weigh? Is your pain driving it? I just don't feel good. I think I need to start eating better. That's bad news. That's why I think when people tell me that they just want to lose weight, I don't think it's big enough. I don't think it's a big enough why. Because what's going to happen whenever they lose 20 pounds? All of a sudden, they're going to just be like, what's going to happen with all these Ozempic people? Because the research says that after 2 years of being on Ozempic, you're no more than 4% better than you were when you started. You lose all your gains, right? You only get like 16 to 18% of weight loss. And I guarantee you, if you pay me $500 a month or $1,000 a month, I'll help you lose 16% of weight. I'll come get your meals for you and take them to your house. Like we could figure out that little episode, no problem, right? What's going to happen 2 years from now when you're right back to where you were, and now because you didn't do those things, you didn't let your purpose drive you through those, right? I just think I think it's one of those things that's massively important when it comes to what you are doing. And that's going to determine your success, your prosperity. However you want to define, it's not money. It could be health, it could be relationships, whatever you want to talk about with your purpose or your prosperity. You can define your prosperity any way you want to. But your triangle, let your purpose and your philosophy drive your thinking. Are you going to work out today? Yes or no? Are you going to work? Are you working out this week? Yes or no? Are you going to go for a walk? Yes or no? Right? Have you defined what difference it makes? Are you going to eat refined carbohydrates? Yes or no? It doesn't make any difference. I'll just eat whatever I want. Okay, that is totally fine. If it doesn't make any difference, then just eat whatever you want. If you want to study people that live to be a lot old, and you study why they live to be old, there's a on that show last night they talked about one of the communities in southern Italy. They have a very high concentration of 100-year-old people, and they went and studied it, and the doctor there that studied it correlated the steepness of your village and your longevity. He found that the steepest villages had the longest lifespans. So the lifespans actually correlated with the steepness of your village. And these villages are like in the mountains, like on the hills and all that sort of thing. And so these some of these older people, these 90-year-olds, 94, 95, 97, these people are walking down to the market, but the market is way down there. And they have to walk down a steep hill, turn a corner, walk down a steep hill, get to the market or get to church or get to the coffee shop or wherever it is they want to go. And then they have to turn around and walk back up the steep hill, turn the corner, and walk back up to their house. And he said that most of those houses there are 3-story or 4-story houses. And so these people are constantly walking steps all day long throughout their lifetime. And the ones that lived in the steepest villages are the ones that had the longest lifespans. Does walking affect your life? Yes. Does exercise affect your life? Yes. And then what do these people eat? And they talked about Okinawa. They talked about that community in southern Italy. They talked about those islands in Greece, which are always the one. Okinawa and Greece are the ones where you get the Mediterranean diet, right? That's the place where. And then they talked about Loma Linda, California, and a community there of very active pickleball players, tennis players, people that were very social and very active. And that was another thing that they talked about was being very social. In Okinawa, the old people are very social in the family. The family helps take care of the old people. The same thing happened in Italy. They were very social, lots of gatherings, lots of social events. So being social, walking, controlling your insulin, eating your omega-3s. Those things right there are consistent across the board with people who live long lives. It's what is your purpose. Let your purpose drive your thinking, and you won't be teetering because you'll be flat. You'll be flat on your triangle, and you won't be teetering whether or not you do it or you don't do it, because your purpose will be driving your day. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to take the entire show, but I'm glad it did. I hope it was helpful for some of you. It does hold up. If you try it and you really think about it, it will hold up for you for a long time. It's been consistent for me for 20 years. And I know that those mistakes that I made is because I was trying to make some sort of decision based on the excess or lack of prosperity. And if I'd have just turned it over, let my purpose drive my thinking, I would have saved myself lots of headache and lots of stress that I put myself under because my triangle was upside down. That's all I got for you tonight. I hope you guys have a great evening. Thank you for watching the show, and we'll be back tomorrow night at 6. And if you got any texts you want to send me, any requests, send them my way, and we will see you guys tomorrow night at 6. Have a great evening.